Ethan had never imagined he would leave Earth, let alone marry an alien Empress. He had always been just a soldier, trained in tactics and combat, never expecting politics, galactic courts, or empires spanning dozens of planets. Yet here he was, stepping into a palace unlike anything on Earth. The walls shimmered with colors that no human eye had ever seen. The ceilings floated impossibly high, and the air was filled with a soft hum of energy, like the heartbeat of the building itself. Lysera, the alien Empress, watched him from her throne. Her form was elegant and imposing, taller than any human with skin that reflected a soft silver light. Her eyes glowed faintly, an unearthly mix of blue and violet. She had conquered worlds, defeated armies, and commanded loyalty from countless species, yet there was something intriguing about this human. He seemed ordinary, small even compared to her and her court, but humans were unpredictable. That much she knew. Their first encounter had been formal, stiff, and polite. Ethan had bowed, keeping his gaze steady, not out of fear, but respect. Lysera had observed him carefully, noting the way he carried himself. Unlike most who stood before her, he did not tremble, did not overcompensate, did not try to impress. He simply stood and met her gaze. That, in itself, was unusual. The marriage was arranged for politics. Earth had joined the Galactic Council, and the Empress wanted to cement their alliance. Ethan had been chosen almost randomly because of his skill and reliability. The court had expected him to falter, to appear weak, and for Lysera to dismiss him quickly. But he did not falter, and that was the first surprise. For the first few weeks, Ethan learned the ways of the palace. The technology was advanced, yet not complicated for someone with military training. He adapted quickly, learning how to navigate the floating corridors, how to communicate with the palace AI, and how to understand the alien nobility's strange gestures and signs. Lysera observed him silently, curious but not yet impressed. He was clever, yes, but so were many others. Could he survive the real test? The test came sooner than anyone expected. One evening, as the two were walking through the palace gardens that floated in zero gravity and glowed with bioluminescent flowers, warnings arrived. Alien nobles from distant planets had arrived ostensibly to offer gifts and allegiance, but Ethan noticed subtle movements in their eyes, small signals exchanged. He could sense tension, rivalries, and something darker, a plot to challenge the Empress, maybe even him. He did not speak immediately, only observed, analyzing patterns and behaviors. Lysera noticed the shift in his expression, a quiet focus that humans rarely displayed. She tilted her head, intrigued. "Do you see it?" he asked softly. Lysera raised an eyebrow. "See what, human?" "Not here," he replied, "but there. Watch their movements. Something is off." She followed his gaze, noting what he had already observed. A noble from a mining planet shifted his stance, subtly signaling to another, and a quiet whisper passed between them. Lysera's lips twitched slightly. Most would have ignored it, assuming paranoia, but Ethan's attention to detail was precise. "You may be more useful than I thought," she said, her voice calm, almost amused. Days passed, and the court buzzed with small intrigues. Nobles challenged each other in debates and shows of strength, in coded gestures that humans were not expected to understand. Yet Ethan did. He navigated these challenges with intelligence, answering questions with careful words, noticing alliances, and predicting moves before anyone acted. Lysera watched him closely. Her amusement grew into curiosity, though she still did not suspect the depth of his abilities. Then came the news of the approaching fleet. A hostile species, known as the Varkari, was moving through the system, conquering planets and leaving destruction in their wake. Lysera's personal fleet was formidable, her warriors trained in tactics that few could comprehend. Yet she did not underestimate the threat. This was a real test, and for the first time she allowed Ethan to accompany her in planning the defenses. He did not boast, did not demand attention, and did not underestimate the challenge. Instead, he observed, asked questions, and suggested minor adjustments, small things like shifting patrol routes, reinforcing weak points, and reorganizing command chains. Lysira noticed these changes but thought them simple human suggestions, unlikely to make a real difference. As the fleet drew closer, the palace prepared for war. Shields glowed around planets, energy weapons hummed in readiness, and the army stood alert. Ethan moved among the soldiers, quietly speaking to those he found anxious or unsure. His calm presence inspired confidence. Lysira noticed soldiers standing straighter, fighting fears that even she could not easily quell. The first skirmish occurred at the outskirts of the system. Ethan observed from the command deck, pointing out weak points in the enemy's formation. When the Varkari launched a sudden attack on a defensive station, Ethan did not panic. He coordinated a counter-strategy, using a mix of tactics unfamiliar to the alien commanders. Within moments, the station was secure, and the enemy was forced to retreat in confusion. Lysira's eyes widened. She had never seen a human handle pressure like this. She had trained for centuries, yet she had underestimated him. The battle raged across several planets. Ethan moved from point to point, sometimes on command deck, sometimes on the ground, seemingly ordinary but always observing, calculating, and reacting with speed and precision. Despite the chaos, he never lost control. He adapted to new threats, coordinated groups of vastly different alien species, and anticipated enemy maneuvers. Lysira began to feel something she had not experienced in centuries, a mix of surprise and admiration. One night, after a long day of battles, they stood together on a balcony overlooking a planet scarred by war. Ethan looked calm, his hands behind his back, studying reports on a handheld device. Lysira, standing beside him, felt a strange sense of respect. "You are different from any human I have encountered," she said. Ethan shrugged. "I only do what I must. Survival is simple when you understand your enemy and yourself." Lysira's lips curved in a small smile. "Perhaps, but survival alone does not explain the way you move, the way you see things, the way you inspire loyalty without demanding it." He looked at her quietly, saying nothing, yet she could feel the strength within him. Quiet, unassuming, yet undeniable. For now he was a strategist, a clever human who could survive court politics. But Lysira could sense that there was more, a power he had not yet revealed. The night passed, and the battle escalated further. The Varkari fleet pushed into her territory, testing her forces. Lysira watched Ethan move through the chaos, calm, precise, unflinching. Soldiers whispered in awe as he disarmed traps, guided reinforcements, and faced foes far larger than himself. Yet he did so without violence unless necessary, using skill and intelligence rather than brute force. For the first time, Lysira wondered, what if this human is more than clever? What if he is stronger than anyone could imagine? The first part of the battle reached a climax when the Varkari attempted a surprise strike on the Empress herself. Shields flared, alarms blared, and the court panicked. But Ethan was already there, positioning himself between the threat and Lysira. In a single motion, he deflected energy blasts with his body, moved faster than any human should, and guided the Empress to safety. Lysira stared at him, stunned. She had trained her entire life to protect herself, yet she had almost been defeated if not for this human who appeared ordinary moments ago. For the first time, doubt crept into her mind. Perhaps humans were not weak. Perhaps they were something far more extraordinary. As the battle continued, she knew she had to pay close attention to him. The human she had married, whom she had dismissed as average, had shown skill, intelligence, and courage beyond any alien warrior she had known. And though he had not yet revealed everything, she could sense the potential for something greater, a strength that could change the fate of her empire. The first part ends with the battlefield quieting for a moment. Ethan stands among the soldiers, calm, scanning the horizon, ready for what comes next. Lysira watches him, her mind racing with new possibilities. The human is not what he seems, and she realizes that the coming battles may reveal a side of him that not even she can predict. The battle had reached a dangerous point, and the Empress's forces were being pushed back on several fronts. Lysira watched the chaos from her command deck, the hum of energy shields filling the air. Reports flashed across her display: ships destroyed, planets under attack, soldiers retreating. Yet amidst the panic, Ethan moved calmly, like a man who knew exactly what needed to be done. He stepped onto the bridge of a flagship, and the alien officers paused. His presence was quiet, unassuming, yet commanding. He did not shout, he did not gesture grandly, he simply moved with purpose. His eyes scanned the battlefield, calculating trajectories, analyzing enemy formations, and anticipating their every move. Within moments, he began issuing instructions, not from arrogance, but from precision. The officers obeyed without question, sensing the authority in his understanding. The first wave of Varkari attackers approached. They were massive creatures towering over even the tallest aliens in Lysira's army, equipped with heavy armor and devastating weapons. Many soldiers hesitated, unsure how to face such a threat. Ethan, however, did not hesitate. He leapt onto the battlefield with astonishing speed, dodging blasts and moving through chaos with a grace no human should possess. He disarmed enemy leaders, turning their own weapons against them, and used the environment to his advantage. A fallen energy bridge became a trap, channeling enemy movements exactly where he wanted. Within minutes, soldiers who had been terrified were inspired by his confidence. They followed his lead, forming units that moved in perfect coordination. Lysira's heart raced as she watched. She had trained for centuries, fought countless wars, and led armies that had destroyed entire planets. Yet here was a human doing things she had never seen. The Varkari struck again, this time targeting the Empress's flagship directly. Ethan calculated the trajectory of incoming missiles and ran, faster than any human could, intercepting them. Energy blasts struck around him, but he seemed untouchable. He redirected the blasts with his body, moving so quickly that even the advanced alien shields had trouble keeping up. Lysira held her breath, stunned by what she saw. As the battle raged, Ethan began rescuing injured soldiers. He lifted creatures far heavier than himself, throwing them clear of explosions intended to wounds with speed and skill that seemed impossible. Soldiers whispered among themselves, calling him a legend, yet he never sought recognition. Each action was precise, efficient, and executed with quiet determination. Lysira realized she had underestimated him entirely. She had assumed humans were clever but weak, adaptable but fragile. Yet here he was, displaying strength, speed, and resilience that rivaled even her best warriors. Her mind raced. She had married him for alliance and curiosity, not expecting this level of capability. The final push came when the Varkari unleashed their most fearsome weapon, a massive warship capable of destroying entire planets. Its energy cannon charged, glowing with deadly light. The Empress's fleet faltered, unsure how to counter it. Ethan stepped forward, analyzing the ship's defenses. He noticed a pattern in its energy flow, a vulnerability no one else had seen. He acted without hesitation, sprinting across the battlefield with such speed that even Lysira struggled to follow his movements. He dodged energy blasts, scaled the side of the massive ship, and breached its armor. Inside, he disabled key systems, turning the enemy's power against them. Alarms blared, but Ethan moved calmly, dismantling their defenses with precision. Within moments, the warship was neutralized, crashing harmlessly into an asteroid. Lysira felt a rush of awe mixed with disbelief. She had fought countless battles, faced terrifying enemies, and led her forces with unmatched skill. Yet this human had done what she could not have done alone. She began to understand that his strength was not just physical, it was intelligence, strategy, and courage combined in a way that made him nearly unstoppable. When the battle finally ended, the battlefield was quiet. Ships floated damaged but intact, soldiers cheered, and the enemy was in full retreat. Ethan stood at the center, breathing steadily, his uniform scorched and torn, yet his composure never wavered. Lysira approached him, her eyes wide, her usual composure shaken. You were extraordinary," she said, her voice soft but filled with awe. "I have never seen anything like it. How can a human possess such strength?" Ethan looked at her calmly. "I did what was necessary," he said simply. "I learned, I adapted, and I acted. Strength comes in many forms. Mine is not just in my body. It is in my mind, in my ability to remain calm when others panic." Lysira studied him carefully. She had married him thinking he was clever, perhaps lucky, but not exceptional. Now she realized he was far beyond what she had imagined. He was not just her husband, but a being whose presence could change the fate of her empire. The aftermath was busy with repairs and celebrations. Soldiers and officers recounted Ethan's feats, praising him, yet he remained modest. He assisted in rebuilding defenses, tending to the injured and planning for future threats. Lysera worked beside him, learning from him, respecting him in a way she had never respected anyone before. Days later, they stood together overlooking a planet that had almost been destroyed, but was now safe. The sky shimmered with the remnants of the battle, stars reflecting in the damaged oceans and mountains scarred by war. Lysera turned to him, her voice filled with both admiration and curiosity. "You have changed my understanding of humans," she said. "I thought you were clever, yes, but I never imagined this. I never imagined strength like yours existed in your kind." Ethan smiled faintly. "We are not all the same," he said. "Some of us rise when we are needed most. Some of us show what others think impossible. I am no different, only prepared." Lysera looked at him, feeling something she had never felt before. Humility mixed with awe. She had ruled empires, fought wars, and faced enemies without fear. Yet this human, small in stature and quiet in demeanor, had shown a courage and strength beyond her expectations. Over the next weeks, they worked together to strengthen the empire. Ethan trained with her forces, teaching humans and aliens alike to use strategy, intelligence, and teamwork in ways that even veteran warriors had never considered. He led small missions personally, demonstrating skills that made soldiers and officers alike follow him without question. Lysera watched him, fascinated. He was more than a husband or a soldier. He was a symbol of what humans could be, a species underestimated by nearly everyone in the galaxy, yet capable of feats that could rival even the greatest alien warriors. She felt pride in him, respect for him, and an unusual warmth that she had never allowed herself to feel before. One evening, as they stood in the palace gardens, Lysera turned to him with a serious expression. "Ethan," she said, "I underestimated you. I married you thinking you were clever but not extraordinary. I see now that I was wrong. You are beyond anything I expected, and I must ask, will you stay by my side not just as my husband but as my partner in this empire?" Ethan looked at her calm and confident. "I have never left anyone behind," he said. "I will stand with you, protect you, and help this empire grow. Together." Lysera felt a deep sense of relief and awe. The human she had married, whom she once dismissed as ordinary, had proven himself in ways she had never imagined. His strength was not just physical but mental, strategic, and unyielding. He had shown that humans could rise above expectations, face impossible challenges, and inspire loyalty and courage in ways that even she had never thought possible. The empire began to rebuild, stronger than before. Soldiers trained under Ethan's guidance, learning new ways to fight, adapt, and think. The alien nobles, once skeptical, now looked to him with admiration and respect. Lysera and Ethan worked together, a partnership built not only on marriage but on trust, intelligence, and shared courage. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries, but now, standing beside Lysera, Ethan proved that they were far from ordinary. He was a human who could challenge conventions, inspire empires, and change the course of history. Lysera realized that her marriage had been more than political. It had been a chance to witness greatness in its purest form, and she vowed never to underestimate him or his kind again. The story ended with the Empress standing beside her human husband, looking out at the stars. She had seen strength she could not have imagined, courage beyond measure, and intelligence that rivaled the greatest minds in the galaxy. The human beside her was not ordinary. He was extraordinary, and she knew that together they could face any challenge, conquer any enemy, and reshape the galaxy forever.